There are a lot of things that go on in your life. You got a lot coming at you, and it's natural that sometimes your motivation will wane just a bit. The only thing that matters is me putting food on the table, and they don't want to hear about whether or not I'm in the mood to put food on the table. None of that matters. If you've been struggling with low motivation and it's been worrying you because you have dreams and you have goals that you're pursuing, then I want to talk to you today about what you can fall back on when your motivation is low. Now, understand that you are a human being, so it is not unnatural or strange that you would have periods where your motivation is lower than you would like it to be. Okay. I want you to understand that there's something that you can do about it. It's going to require that you understand and that you up your game and that you apply what I'm going to tell you. Okay. Now, first, let me just say that I'm Mark Johnson, the founder of BouncePep, bringing you ideas for a fit and flourishing future. I'm also the youngest son of Bill Johnson. I want you to come on out to Japan and see me and work with me. But before you do all of that, I want you to hear me out. And if I say anything that you like, please go ahead and like, of course. If you have not subscribed, subscribe. If you want to leave any comments, I love to get your comments and I love to hear back from you. So go ahead and leave them. And if I'm not too busy, I will respond. I often do respond. So with that said, let me just reiterate to you, you are a human being. Okay. None of us is operating at 100% maximum motivation every day, all the time. Motivation just doesn't work like that. There will be days when your motivation is high. There will be days when your motivation is low. There might be weeks where your motivation is low for whatever reason, right? There are a lot of things that go on in your life. You got a lot coming at you, and it's natural that sometimes your motivation will wane just a bit, okay? But I want to talk to you about what you can actually do about it. An understanding that you can gain to help you out in your life so that when your motivation is low, you can still continue to move yourself in the right direction, to level up, and to bring your dreams closer to becoming a reality. We're going to be talking about two things. The first, of course, is motivation because that's what we started out with. And the second is commitment. Okay, so I'm going to let the cat out of the bag here and just tell you up front that your fallback for low motivation is what we call commitment. Okay, now I want you to understand the nature of commitment. Commitment you can think of as H2O. Just as H2O has a solid form and a liquid form, technically speaking, it also has a gaseous form. We're not going to worry about the gas. Okay, we're just going to be talking about the solid form and the liquid form of H2O. Commitment is the same thing. So the nature of commitment is that it is rock solid, just as a block of ice is. However, commitment has to be demonstrated in order for it to be real. So if you think about how a block of ice, as it heats up, it begins to melt and flow as liquid water, right? Well, that flow is essentially movement, or we can think of it as action. Okay. So this is the nature of commitment. You see, commitment is rock solid. It doesn't change from day to day. It doesn't change based on your mood. You're committed to whatever it is that you said you were going to do. Okay. You're committed to it. And you have to demonstrate your commitment through something called discipline. Understand that discipline and commitment are two forms of the same thing, just like H2O. Your discipline is basically commitment in action. And this is how you can understand the nature of commitment, what commitment actually is. Okay. It's not good enough to simply say that you are committed. You have to demonstrate your commitment through discipline. And discipline is commitment in action. So I think you got that point. Now, let me just tell you that if we had to line up commitment here and line up motivation here, and we look at them and we say, okay, which one is more important in your life? I'm just going to tell you that commitment is most definitely more important than motivation in your life. And this is because, as I explained before, your commitment is not supposed to wax and wane. It's not supposed to change from day to day or week for week. Commitment is rock solid. If your commitment is always changing, then it's not a commitment. It doesn't make any sense, right? So I want you to make sure before you get all gung ho and motivated about whatever it is that you're doing, make sure that you're committed to it. You have to be truly committed to it because that is your fallback. Commitment is what will keep you going when your motivation levels are low, right? Just like I am committed to making money in some way so that I can feed my family, right? I'm committed to it. It doesn't matter whether I feel like making the money. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is me putting food on the table. And they don't want to hear about whether or not I'm in the mood to put food on the table. None of that matters. If my daughters don't have food on the table, it's a problem. And they don't care about whether or not I feel like putting food on the table, right? So I have to be committed to putting food on the table. And that commitment is rock solid. Think of it like that. I mean, it's the simplest way that I can explain commitment to you, the nature of commitment. If you think of it like that, if you have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, motivation, just because it's less important than commitment in your life, does not mean that it's not important. I'm just talking about comparatively. You have to put commitment first. Commitment is the base. Okay. Now, you've probably heard me, if you've been listening to me for any amount of time, you've heard me talk about motivation before, and you may have heard me explain that there are three types of motivation. You can think of these essentially as motivational states, but for simplicity's sake, we'll just call them the three types of motivation. The first one is fear, which is the easiest to understand. The second one is anticipation. And the third one is hunger. Now, fear could be something as simple as you're scared to death of something bad happening to you. And so that's why you do something to prevent that bad thing from happening, right? Fear is driving your action. Fear is motivating you, okay? So fear can be very, very powerful. And I'll be frank with you. If fear is the thing that's motivating you to do what's necessary and you're getting where you need to go and getting the result that you need to get, then so be it. Okay? So be it. Fear, just because it's a negative emotion, doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad emotion. If it drives you to do what truly needs to be done, okay, then motivation based in fear can be very helpful and powerful in your life. Okay? So it's not inherently bad. Let's talk about the second one, anticipation. You can think of anticipation as simply um, kind of an expectation of a favorable outcome or a wonderful experience. That's basically what anticipation is. Anticipation is when you're just excited about what it is to come. So anticipation gives you those warm and fuzzy feelings, and it's like that sense that you just you can't wait. You're so excited about what's to come. So anticipation is also a great motivator, right? Now, let's talk about the third one, which is my favorite. Hunger is another great motivator. But I'm going to say my favorite because I just like the nature of hunger. You can think of hunger as kind of an insatiable drive to achieve, okay? And so hunger is so powerful because it's like something in you that's just pushing you to reach for that next level and to do the right thing and take that next step that's going to bring your dreams closer to being that reality that you've been working so hard for, right? When you have hunger, it's like nothing can stop you, nothing can get in your way. You'll have setbacks, you'll have disappointments, but your hunger will kind of override all that and just it'll keep you going, right? So that's hunger. Okay. So hunger is it's an extremely powerful motivational force in your life. And if you have hunger, I want you to keep hunger. It's my absolute favorite. Okay. But let me get back to what I explained to you a little bit earlier. I'm gonna just cap this off with a summary. You have to start with your commitment because your motivation can change from day to day. You may not always have really high motivation. Some days you wake up and the motivation is just low for whatever reason, right? And you don't necessarily feel like doing what needs to be done. But because you're committed and you're falling back on that commitment, which is rock solid, then you're going to exercise your commitment through discipline, right? Discipline is commitment in action. So sometimes when your motivation is low and you're falling back on that commitment, what will happen is you do what needs to be done, but you're not necessarily doing it at the highest level. Okay. And that's simply because your motivation is low. But here's the kicker. When you have commitment and you also have high motivation and you stack the high motivation on top of the commitment, those are the days when you go in and not only you do what needs to be done, but you have that spark to go above and beyond. You know, you're prepared to do more, to take it more to the limit, to squeeze out more juice, you know. So you want to take advantages of those times when you have high motivation, okay? Because you're already committed, right? You know you're gonna do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. But when that motivation is high, that's really, really powerful. Then you've got it's like a one-two punch of commitment and motivation. Okay. It's like a knockout punch. You can get a lot done when your motivation is really high. And so I want you to think of commitment and motivation like that. And just remember the most important thing is you have to have commitment first. That is your fallback. You know, when I was studying in university and I was in Tokyo, I was learning how to read and write Japanese. And you know, Japanese is not like English where you just have an alphabet. You have to learn each and every character, and there are like thousands of them. And I would spend at least 1 hour every day. I would go to the cafeteria at the university and I would just sit in there and I would open up my books and I would just repetitively write each character. Just write. Just putting in the reps, right? Just like when you're at the gym, putting in reps. That's how I learned how to read and write Japanese. Putting in like thousands of reps, right? And there were days when I did not feel like doing it. Rest assured, I can tell you for certain, I did not feel like studying those Japanese characters every single day. There were some days when I did it because it needed to be done. And that was my commitment, right? Same thing when you go work out at the gym, right? Some days you're really gung ho. Like you can't wait to get in there and work out. And your energy is just there, right? And then there are other days when you don't necessarily feel like going to work out. But if you're committed, you get up and you go and you do it anyway. Now, you might not go in there and just try to knock it out of the park, right? Because your motivation is not that high. But at least you're going to go in there and do what needs to be done. You're going to do enough to make a difference. You're not just going to go in and waste time in the gym, right? Because you're committed. So you're going to do enough to make a difference. But it's on those days when you have the high motivation combined with your commitment. Those are the days that are really special when you walk into the gym and you just got that extra, win beneath yourselves and you feel like you can put in that extra set, you can go a little bit heavier. You can, you can try a little bit harder. You can struggle a little bit more. You can you can handle more, right? You can do more. Okay. So this is the nature of commitment and motivation. I want you to understand the interplay between the two. And more importantly, you always fall back on your commitment. Okay. And the other thing is, you cannot say that you are committed if you have no discipline, because discipline is simply commitment in action. Okay. So discipline is a demonstration of your commitment. I want you to stay committed. All right. And I want you, whenever you're low on motivation, fall back on that commitment. Okay. That's your fallback. So I want you to take this with you. Talk to you next time.